All right, so now is the fun part. Now we're trying to figure out how to increase the average cart value in order to help us scale. Because when you start scaling your Facebook ads, it's likely that the cost per acquisition, your CPA, is going to increase as you increase your budget. So it's imperative that we work on increasing our ACV in order to help cover the ad spend that we're going to be using in order to scale our membership business. So in the actual funnel I want to go over, we have basically 5 main products that we're going to be able to mess around with in order to better increase our ACV. So you're going to have your main product or offer, the thing that someone is seeing inside of your ad to come into your world with, the funnel. That's your front end product. You have your bump order number 1, right? And we always recommend using at least 2 bump orders. It gives you just extra chances in order to increase the ACV. So we have bump order 1, bump order 2, and then we always have at least 2 upsells or one-time offers after the initial purchase, which is OTO1 and OTO2. So we basically have 5 products in order to help us increase the ACV. Now the question is, what can we do with those 5 products in order to increase our average cart value? So obviously the goal is to make as much profit as possible from each customer that's going through the funnel. Now, that's not to say that we're trying to take advantage of people. It's saying that when someone's in a buying mood, then they're more likely to buy additional items. The worst thing we can do as an online business or in any business in general is not offer additional things when someone's in the buying mood. We're missing out on a ton of revenue and a ton of profit. Now, it's important to keep in mind that we're not just trying to increase the average cart value. We're trying to increase the net profit from somebody coming through our funnel. And so a lot of times, instead of calling it the average cart value or ACV, we like to call it the net average cart value, right? What are we actually making from every customer that comes through the door? Because we have cost of goods, we have taxes from Stripe, we have all of the things that we need in order to calculate what we're getting from net from each purchase. So question is, what do you test in order to improve your ACV? The process is very simple. A lot of people make it way too complex. At the end of the day, we want to first test the price of the product. So let's say you have a bump order that's $17 and the take rate on it is 5%. Now, how can we get that from 5% to 15% plus? Simply lower the price from 17 to 7 and see what happens, right? This whole thing is about testing. And the reason we don't really work on the average cart value or the ACV until we start scaling is we need a lot of data coming into your funnel. So if you're not making sales on your front end product yet, there's really no point in testing the ACV. We need data coming in so we can really see how to improve the ACV. So number 1, start with price. We always start lower and then we gradually increase it until the take percentage lowers, right? And this just requires some math, right? So you got to be able to understand, like, let's do some math together live right here, okay? So if I just scroll down, and I'm going to put in a page break real quick. Okay, so let's say we have a bump order 1, okay? I guess you can't see it right now. Let me scoot this over real quick. Okay, let's say you have bump order number 1, okay? And let's say it's $17. And right now your take rate is 5%. So what we need to figure out is if we have 100 people that come through and buy your front end product, 5% of those 100 people are going to buy your bump order number 1 for $17, right? So what is 5% of 100? It's 5 people. So 5 people will buy. So then we got to go 5 times $17, right? So that's what, $85? So $85 is what we're making at our product being $17 with a take rate of 5%, okay? So now when we're messing with these percentages and the dollar value, let's say we took our product with the same 100 people, okay? So let's just duplicate that process. And let's say we lowered the dollar amount to, let's say $10. And then we let it run for a day or 2 or 3. And we recognize that the take rate before was 5%, it's increased to 7%. So now 7% of people are taking this order or taking this product instead of previously 5%. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to help us increase the ACV or our average cart value. And here's why. So 7% of 100 is what? 7 people. So congratulations, you've gotten more people to purchase your product. But the problem is we've lowered it to $10. And so 7 times 10, so we're going to go 7 people bought it, times 10 is what? $70. So even though we've increased the percentage of people that have bought this new product at a $10 price point, we have actually lowered our average cart value, or that dollar amount, by $15. Okay? And so as the business owner and entrepreneur, it's going to take a little bit of math to come in and really figure out what is the sweet spot as far as the dollar amount you're charging and the percentage of take rate. You're starting to understand this, right? So let's say we lowered it to $10 and it took the take rate from 5% to 20%, right? So 20% of 10 or 100 people is 20 people. So now if we go 20 times $10, we're at $200. So dropping it to $10 was a huge benefit to our average cart value because it allowed us to increase the take rate from 5% to 20%. So even though we're making less per purchase, we're making more because it increased the number of people that actually took that product. Is this kind of making sense? And this is the fun part of really being an entrepreneur and building out your funnel, is really messing around with these numbers and figuring out what the ideal perfect situation is. And it's going to change over time. But right now we're trying to figure out how to increase that average cart value. So now if we run a test and we have 100 people come through and it's at 20% now, so now what are we going to do? So let's name this. This is test 1. This down here is test 2. So let's go to test 3. So let's copy this out. Test number 3. Let's keep it, and let's say let's raise it to, before we had what? $17, $10. Let's try $12. Okay? We let it run for a minute and realize that, dang it, this actually dropped it to 15%. So now we need to calculate, what is 15% of 100 people? It's 15 purchases. So if we go 15 times 12, all right, I'm just going to do the math on my calculator. I probably can do it. I just don't want to mess up, and doing it live is crazy. So $180, okay? So we now have $180 at $12 because it dropped it to 15%, which is $20 less than 20 people, 20% at $10. So far, the best test so far is the $10 price point because it increased it to 20%. So this is really what the whole point of increasing your average cart value is messing around with the dollar amount you're charging for the product and see how it influences the take rate, and then doing the simple math to figure out if it was worth it. And if it's not, adjust it some more and figure out what's the best price point in order to increase the number of take rates, but also help you make the most amount of money. Okay, that's literally, this is the process we do in order to increase our average cart value. So let me bring this back. So that's the first thing you're going to do. You're going to start off with the price of the product. You're going to start lower and then gradually increase it. Another thing that you can really change is the name of the product. And so why does the name or the headline of the product, especially on bump orders, matter? And I'll kind of scroll down. The rule of thumb is people want to get things faster and easier. And if you're selling physical products, usually people want more of the same thing or a very congruent product to what they're currently buying. And so let's say, for example, in our singing example, we're teaching somebody how to do riffs and runs, right? So that's the price of our main product. And if we look at our bump orders, let's say they want to do riffs and runs. One thing we have to ask ourselves is, okay, if I'm somebody that's coming in interested in riffs and runs, what else would I be 100% interested in? And after we kind of dig in deep, it's like, okay, one, can we have a product that'll help them increase the riffs and runs even better? But in this case, we probably wouldn't want to do that because the customer's under the assumption if they buy our course on riffs and runs, they're going to improve their riffs and runs. And so if we have a bump order that says, improve your riffs and runs even more, see how it's a little bit of a dichotomy where it's like, wait a minute, this course you're selling is how to improve your riffs and runs, but I also have to get this thing to improve it even more? That doesn't quite make sense. So if someone wants to improve the riff and runs, what else would they want to improve upon to be a better singer? Their vibrato. The vibrato helps them sound more professional, right? And so naming the product, instead of saying improve your vibrato, right? What if we said want to instantly sound more professional? So it allows them to realize and see in their mind what outcome they're getting from your bump product. So, oh my heck, yeah, I'm going to get better at riffs and runs from your front end product. Now I can sound more professional with this product. Yeah, I want that, right? So that's the kind of way we got to think about. And if you're doing a physical product, let's say it's a dog box, for example. So they're getting this dog box. Hey, do you want to add this additional product for 50% off, right, to your dog box? Hey, do you want to do this? What's really congruent with the current physical product that they're purchasing? And so the third thing we can test is just a different product. Sometimes the product that we're trying to sell people isn't congruent enough and people just simply don't want it. And so we got to switch out that product and think of a different product that would be more congruent and more enticing to the customer that's coming in for your front end product. And that's really what you need to think about. What front end product are you selling? What outcome is your front end product giving that customer? And then what additional products can you sell that customer that'll help them increase their outcome even more, faster, easier, and so forth. So that's really what to think about, those rules of thumbs when you're going through and trying to increase your average cart value, is how do you help them accomplish what their desires are faster, whether it's for themselves or for a loved one or for a pet, right? That's really all increasing the ACV comes down to. So I know this is a quick training, but it really is that simple. Don't overcomplicate it. At the end of the day, all we do is mess around with the price point and see how that price point influences the take rate of that product, and then changing the name of the product to see if that improves the actual take rate. Because once you find, back to our example here, right? And let me drag it over. So back to this example here. So after these 3 tests, we found out that this test was the best. So at $10, 20% take rate. So what if we kept that dollar amount, right? That $10, but then we started messing around with the title? What if we changed the title to something more enticing and it moved this take rate from 20% to 25%? That means 25 people are buying it, and that just increased us $50. And so we always start with price. And once we do the price, we see how that influences it. Once we find the sweet spot, right, then you can start messing around with the title of it if you'd like. But if your take rate is really north of 15 to 20%, you're in a really good spot. And so you always be testing, but just know anything north of 15 to 20% on a bump order or an upsell is actually really good in what you're shooting for. And so do those things, test the price point, test the title, and see how it improves or doesn't improve your take rate, and really go from there on testing and improving your ACV. Hopefully that was helpful, and excited for you to improve your ACV so you can start scaling your ads.